Over the past few months, and especially in the last week, the issue of terrorism in South Africa has stirred panic and fear among the general public. It comes in the wake of the US Treasury Department Office of Foreign Asset Control announcement on the 7th of November that 4 Durban-based business people with alleged ties to the Islamic State of Iraq and Syria had been added to the US sanctions list. Many have jumped on the bandwagon talking about the threat of Islamic extremism growing in South Africa and the African continent, without elaborating on the actual terrorism or terror activities that the so-called threat alludes to. Let us pause for a moment to consider whether America is a state one can trust.
A bombshell series of investigative reports in the Washington Post
of a trove of government documents.
Officials deliberately misled the public about what exactly was going on.
My name's Craig Whitlock, and I'm an investigative reporter for the Washington Post and an author of the book, The Afghanistan Papers, A Secret History of the War. The Afghanistan Papers are a collection of documents, or interviews, most of them, with more than 400 people who played a direct role in the war. And these were interviews done by a government agency called the Special Inspector General for Afghanistan. For our book, The Afghanistan Papers, one thing we've obtained were hundreds of additional oral history interviews, government reports, and diplomatic cables. What was being told to the public was completely at odds with reality on the ground. Our initial goal in invading Afghanistan back in 2001 was very clear at the time.
On my orders, the United States military has begun strikes
to try and eliminate al-Qaeda and prevent a repeat of the 9/11 attacks. Al-Qaeda was pretty much gone within the first 6 months of the war. It fled Afghanistan. Who were we fighting? Who is the enemy? It's harder to say what we've accomplished in Afghanistan, despite what the generals and diplomats were telling the American public all along.
Our troops will fight to win.
President Trump, he was going to try and persuade the Taliban to negotiate a peace deal. And the way he was going to try and get the Taliban to the bargaining table was, for lack of a better description, he was going to try and bomb the hell out of them. And in some respects, that worked. The Taliban did come to the negotiating table.
When I came to office, I inherited a diplomatic agreement duly negotiated between the government of the United States and the Taliban.
Can we really expect the US to be honest with the rest of the world when they lie to their own people?